The heat in the foot, in the right foot especially, is unbelievable.
The legs are probably the worst, like calves and stuff like that, start to cook.
The foot's because the exhaust is very close, and the hands because normally the fairings are open and all the warm is coming from that point.
Worst part of the weekend is the race, no? The long one, super hot.
For sure, it's really exhausting. You get really tired from riding when it's really hot temperatures.
It is a monster, the bike. You know, the heat it generates, the carbon discs, the engine, getting the performance out of it. But the biggest key is to make sure we don't have any static air line anywhere, because the heat generation is massive. So if you have a static area where the heat just comes up, and even for the rider in their helmet and things like this, it's a massive problem for them. So for the mechanic's point of view, you know, when you're in the bike stops and then the heat, most generation of the heat is at that moment because there's no airflow again. So even touching the bike becomes actually an issue.
The engine gets really hot, all the liquids inside the bikes. We don't have so many protection from us to the engine, so because the bike has to be as light as possible, so we really feel all the heat.
Everything's packed in really tight, and then obviously the fairings are quite tight to that, so there's not a lot of room. You know, they're designed to get basically the air over the radiator and kind of get it out as quick as possible.
You just have to make sure that you generate an airflow that gets rid of the heat. So the number one thing is to move the air out of the way and out of the bike. Again, because the bike is so hot, the rear tyre becomes an issue. So you have to make sure that we have all these ways of getting the heat away from the rear tyre, because that generates a lot of heat by itself by the riding with the spin and everything.
Normally we have much less grip, also the bike is moving normally a bit more.
You have to manage a lot of different things like the tire temperature and the physical condition, everything is quite hard.
We have the water cooler, so we have the radiator, we have the oil cooler, so these parts are to control the engine as much as possible. And then of course the heat heats up the fuel tank, so there's other vents and other ways of cooling that as well, so it is a major issue for a motorcycle. To be honest, there's nothing really different that we do to anywhere else. It's because it's such an important factor. We have the same solutions everywhere, so the cooler we can keep everything, the better the performance is.